They told you sleep is healing, that your body recovers while you rest. But what if I told you with fury, over 60, that the way you lie in bed could be quietly straining your heart every single night? But it wasn't. It was how I slept. My name is Martha. I am 68. I used to think my shortness of breath in the morning was just part of aging. Another showed that a common position triples the odds of nighttime reflux, a condition that silently taxes your heart and lungs while you sleep. A recent study from the American Heart Association found that poor sleep posture increases the risk of atrial fibrillation in seniors by up to 39%. But not once has my doctor asked how I lay my body down at night. And no one ever tells us. We're told to take our pills, get our steps, eat our vegetables. Today, I am going to show you what I've learned on what has helped me feel more rested, breathe deeper, and ease the pressure on my aging heart. This could be the one small change that protects your strength in the years ahead. Before we begin, tell me in the comment, how do you sleep? Back, side, or stomach? Have you ever noticed waking up with a dry mouth, dizziness, or heavy chest? You're not alone, and there's something you can do about it. When you're in your 60s or beyond, your body starts whispering truths it never had to say out loud before. Maybe you notice your knees don't bend like they used to, or your shoulders feel stiff in the mornings. The heart should slow down, the lungs should expand with ease, and the blood should move freely, delivering oxygen and nutrients like a gentle tide washing the shore. A slight twist in the spine, a gentle pressure against the lungs, a subtle block in the flow of blood to your extremities. All of it adds up. But for many older adults, something goes wrong in that peaceful process. The truth is, aging brings with it a quiet rearranging of priorities. Things like circulation, breathing, and muscle recovery, once automatic, now ask for your attention. What if changing the way you sleep could lift that weight off your chest? Literally, you could sleep in a bad position and wake up just fine. But after 60, your resilience shifts. Your heart doesn't bounce back as your joints take longer to settle. Your lungs don't inflate with quite the same strength. And when you lie down at night, assuming rest is inevitable, your body may be fighting a battle you can't feel. You see, during sleep, the body is supposed to restore itself, that the shape you take in the quiet hours could be silently robbing you of energy, clarity, and strength. And yet, it happens every night, without pain, without alarm, until the consequences show up during the day. It starts with posture. The position you fall asleep in, so simple, so familiar, can quietly create strain where you least expect it. In your 40s, you might have shrugged it off. The worst part is no one talks about this. No one tells you that the way you sleep could be slowly exhausting your heart. Fatigue, dizziness, shortness of breath. We often blame it on age. But what if it's something much more manageable? This isn't about panic. It's about power. The power to make one small shift that allows your heart to rest, your lungs to breathe freely, and your body to finally do what it's meant to: recover. Most of us never think twice about how we fall asleep. It's habits, it's comfort. But beneath that comfort, the body responds in ways we don't always feel, at least not right away. As we age, the positions we sleep in don't just shape our rest, they shape our health. Imagine lying down at night, thinking your body is finally getting the break it deserves. But while you drift into dreams, something else is happening. Certain positions, especially those we've relied on for decades, begin to press where they shouldn't. Your lungs may not fully expand, your heart may beat harder to keep up. You don't feel the strain in the moment. The acid irritates the throat, the airways, and even triggers sympathetic nervous activity, the same stress response your heart works hard to avoid. What you thought was rest becomes quiet tension, but it shows up elsewhere in your blood pressure, your energy levels, your memory, your breath. It doesn't wake you up, but it can slowly steal your breath, your stability, and over time, your resilience. They can subtly restrict airflow, compress major blood vessels, or shift pressure toward the chest and abdomen in harmful ways. Over time, this can reduce oxygen levels in the blood without waking you. Some sleep positions are also known to increase acid reflux at night, which doesn't just affect digestion. A different position, just a slight shift, can turn your nights from a silent struggle into real recovery. And then there's the unspoken risk. One position that has been quietly identified in study after study as particularly dangerous after 60. The one that looks the most relaxed. The one we think of as natural, lying flat on your back. It's not dramatic, and yet the good news is that change is possible. Barbara had always been a back sleeper. Ever since she could remember, it was how she felt safest, arms gently resting by her sides, face toward the ceiling, a calm ritual she'd carried through the decades. But in her late 60s, something changed. She started waking up feeling oddly tired. The tongue relaxes and can fall backward, narrowing the airway. Soft tissues settle into the throat, making it harder to breathe. For many, this leads to something called sleep apnea, where breathing starts and stops during the night. What should have been a time of healing became a loop of effort and strain. It's more common than you think, and it doesn't always come with loud snoring or gasping. Sometimes it's just quiet drops in oxygen. The lungs don't expand like they used to. Blood vessels lose flexibility. And all it took was one seemingly innocent habit: sleeping on her back. And when oxygen is reduced, even slightly, the heart and brain feel the cost more deeply. Over time, that's how we end up with elevated blood pressure, arrhythmias, or even heart failure without knowing what's fueling it. The kind that don't wake you, but that force your heart to pump harder again and again. Her mouth was dry, her chest ached in the mornings, and her energy faded faster than before. Her doctor ran all the usual tests: heart, lungs, blood sugar. Nothing serious showed up, but something, quietly and persistently, was off. What Barbara didn't realize, what most people don't, is that sleeping on your back, especially as we age, can set off a cascade of hidden stress throughout the body. That burn isn't just a nuisance. It inflames the airways, disrupts sleep cycles, and more importantly adds stress to the heart. The body stays slightly on edge, never fully slipping into deep, restorative rest. When we lie flat, gravity works against us in subtle but important ways. Barbara didn't know it, but her heart was being asked to sprint through the night, compensating for each breath she couldn't fully take. Each time her oxygen dipped, her body responded by releasing adrenaline, spiking her blood pressure and disturbing her rhythm of rest. Then there's the reflux. When you lie on your back, especially after dinner, acid can travel more easily up from the stomach into the esophagus. For older adults, the effects are more profound. Barbara wasn't broken. Her body was trying quietly nightly to keep her alive under extra pressure. But there's another way, a shift, a change, something gentle but powerful. The change for Barbara came slowly, almost by accident. During one of her checkups, her physician, Dr. Lin, gently asked, "Do you know what position you usually sleep in?" She shrugged, unsure why it mattered. "Mostly on my back. It's just how I've always slept." The heart, which sits slightly to the left of center, is freed from the weight of surrounding organs. Gravity, for once, works in our favor, easing pressure off the heart and allowing it to rest, to circulate blood with less resistance. It's like giving your heart room to breathe after years of quiet labor. Dr. Lin paused, then offered something that stayed with her. "Try your left side. Just for a few nights, see how your mornings feel." At first, it sounded too simple to matter, but that one shift opened a door Barbara never knew existed. What she noticed was simpler. Her chest didn't feel as tight in the morning. Her breath came easier. She had fewer dizzy spells when she stood up from bed. It felt like her body was no longer fighting something every night. When we sleep on our left side, something remarkable happens inside us. The aorta, the main artery that carries blood from the heart, also curves leftward. Less nighttime stress, deeper sleep, a stronger heart. So by sleeping on that side, the heart pumps into a more natural flow, not pushing uphill against the body's own design. Research even shows that left side sleeping can improve the body's ability to drain waste through the lymphatic system, the brain's version of spring cleaning. Barbara felt clearer in the mornings, less foggy. There was a calmness that lingered even after waking. This isn't coincidence. Barbara didn't understand all the science. Left side sleeping also helped with another hidden foe, acid reflux. Since the stomach sits slightly on the left side of the body, this position keeps stomach acid where it belongs, far away from the throat and airway. No more waking with a burning throat. No more strange coughs in the middle of the night. Just uninterrupted rest. And then, as the nights passed, something else improved: her mind. You see, When the heart pumps more efficiently, when oxygen flows better and inflammation lowers, the brain benefits too. All this from turning to her left. Barbara hadn't expected a miracle, but in her 70s, she finally found something that felt like grace, silent grace happening while she slept. And she's not alone. Many seniors have discovered that this small adjustment on their left can lead to measurable, meaningful change. It is one of the rare moments in life where doing something easy or more natural can lead to better health. For some, switching sleep positions feels like turning a cruise ship slow, awkward, resistant to change, especially if you've spent most of your life curled on your right side or lying flat on your back. The body clings to habit like an old friend, even when that friend no longer serves you. That's what happened with Tom, age 74, a retired mechanic from Michigan. Tom had always prided himself on being a heavy sleeper. Fall asleep anywhere, he used to say with a grin. But lately, he'd been waking up sore, sluggish, and strangely short of breath. But Emily helped him make a few simple changes, and that's when everything clicked. His daughter, Emily, gently nudged him to try what she'd read online: left side sleeping. You need a pillow that fills the space between your head and shoulder, keeping your spine in a soft, natural line, not bent, not twisted. This told his body, this is where rest begins. Over time, it became second nature. It created just enough resistance to stop him from rolling over in the middle of the night. Every small effort you make, every night you guide your body gently to the left, is a quiet investment in better mornings. And perhaps, most importantly, he felt something subtle but powerful. He was resting deeper. He felt like his sleep finally counted. Some folks sew a tennis ball into the back of their pajama shirt. It sounds silly, but it works. The discomfort acts like a quiet nudge, training the body without ever waking you fully. Just a few pillows, some patience, and a willingness to give his heart a little more room. For Tom, a medium firm pillow designed for side sleepers made a world of difference. It kept his neck aligned, and by morning, the usual ache was gone. Tom was skeptical, but he figured it couldn't hurt to try. The first night didn't go so well. He shifted, twisted, ended up back on his usual side without noticing. The second night wasn't much better. It starts with your pillow. Most people never think about it, but side sleeping needs support. Then there's the secret weapon, a body pillow. Tucking one between your knees does more than just feel cozy. It keeps your hips in alignment and prevents your spine from rotating. For Tom, this meant waking up with fewer lower back spasms. Some nights, he even hugged the pillow like a seatbelt, anchoring himself in place. One woman, Nancy, found comfort by placing a pillow in front of her chest. While she lay on her left side, it gave her the sensation of pressure against her torso, similar to stomach sleeping without the harmful effects. She called it her hug pillow and said it made all the difference. But what really changed the game was a small, rolled-up towel behind his back. If you're a stomach sleeper, the shift might take a little more patience. Another helpful step is building a little ritual. Tom would lie on his left side during his wind-down time, listening to his favorite jazz station, or just reading the paper. And for those worried it is too late to change, remember this: our bodies are more adaptable than we give them credit for. Even in our 60s, 70s, and 80s. Within 2 weeks, Tom noticed he wasn't waking up as often during the night. His shoulders didn't burn with tightness anymore. It didn't take gadgets, medications, or expensive therapies. Just when Tom thought he had done enough, fixed his sleep position, eased the pressure on his heart, and started waking up feeling lighter. Emily mentioned one more thing. "Dad," she said gently, "did you know your body goes into a kind of fast every night?" "You mean I'm starving myself while I sleep?" "But there's a simple fix, and after 60s, that can really take a toll." He raised an eyebrow. "The heart, being mostly muscle, depends on a quiet supply of amino acids through the night. But with age, that supply runs thinner. Muscles break down faster. Recovery slows, and the silent stress on the heart only grows." "In a way, yes," she replied with a half smile. That fix was something Tom had never heard of before. Casein protein, not the muscle powder he'd seen young men mix at the gym. The key is quality protein, slow to digest, rich in leucine, the amino acid that tells your body, build, don't break down. Overnight protein can help stabilize blood sugar levels, reduce nighttime hunger, and even improve mood upon waking. Seniors, like Tom, who used to feel groggy or anxious in the morning, began to wake with more clarity, more calm, but a different kind, one that digests slowly, like a steady stream of fuel trickling into the body over 6 to 8 hours. It was a simple choice, a ritual of nourishment. Now, for the first time in a long time, he was learning how to care for himself again. Emily explained that during sleep, especially for older adults, the body is doing more than resting, it's repairing. Not because it tasted amazing, but because it symbolized something deeper, that his body still mattered, that healing was still possible, that age wasn't a closing door but a doorway to wiser care. Tom was surprised to learn that many older adults begin losing muscle at a rapid pace during sleep, not because they're inactive, but because they're underfed when the body needs it most. That loss isn't just about strength, it's about heart function, immune support, and even blood sugar control. Combined with left-side sleeping, it created what doctors call a recovery window. His heart didn't have to fight against gravity or starvation. It could rest fully. So they added one small ritual before bed, a scoop of casein protein in a glass of warm almond milk. Simple, no blender, no fuss, just a calm, familiar act like brushing teeth or locking the front door. He drank it slowly, sitting in his favorite chair, feeling like he was giving his body a little gift before the night. Within days, Tom noticed something different. He wasn't just sleeping better, he was recovering better. His muscles didn't ache like before. His legs didn't feel like sandbags in the morning. His heartbeat, once slightly erratic, had settled into a calmer rhythm. What Emily had read turned out to be true. Casein protein provided a slow, steady release of nutrients that helped protect and rebuild overnight. For those who don't like powder, there are other options too. A small bowl of low-fat cottage cheese, or plain Greek yogurt with a sprinkle of cinnamon. And it's not just about the heart or the muscles. It wasn't a magic pill. Tom looked forward to it, like lighting a candle before sleep. He had spent most of his life caring for others. It didn't take long before Tom began noticing little shifts. Not grand transformations or dramatic moments, but quiet changes that whispered, "Something's working." The first thing he felt was the morning. Not just waking up, but how he woke up. There was less of that slow, dragging stiffness in his legs. His knees didn't protest when he stood. His back no longer ached like it had spent the night wrestling a storm. Instead, his body moved more willingly, like it had been tended to in the dark. He found himself reaching less for the armrest to push himself up, and more for the curtain to let the morning light in. The second sign was his breath. Not that he had ever noticed it much before, but now it felt easier, fuller, as though the air filled deeper into his lungs, reaching places it hadn't in years. No more dry mouth, no waking with a pounding heart. The scattered moments of nighttime gasping had faded. Some nights he'd barely shifted, staying in that left side cradle for hours. What used to be a slow crawl through the day now felt like a rhythm. A gentle one, sure, but steady. There was fuel in his tank again, and on the mornings he did wake, he felt rested not just in his bones, but in his spirit. They were about how Tom felt in his own body, more grounded, more capable, more himself. And when they looked at his sleep data from the wearable Emily had gifted him last Christmas, there was a clear trend. Fewer awakenings, better oxygen levels. There was a calmness to his heartbeat, a steadiness that followed him into the day. Together, they had begun to rebuild something deeper than just physical health. Then came the sleep itself. It wasn't longer, necessarily, but deeper. He stopped waking up every hour or so. That restless tossing had quieted, not because she was flattering him, but because he knew what she meant. It reminded him of how he used to sleep after long fishing trips as a younger man, when his body had been fully spent, but his heart was at peace. There were more changes too. One afternoon, while chatting with his neighbor Margaret over the fence, she commented, "You look lighter, brighter, even." And Tom smiled. He'd started moving more, walking a little farther, standing a little taller. His energy had shifted. At his next checkup, his doctor raised an eyebrow at the numbers. Resting heart rate down, blood pressure more consistent. It was working. The changes weren't loud or flashy, but they were real, tangible, and they weren't just about health markers. For the first time in years, aging didn't feel like a slow unraveling. It felt like finding new footing on a changing path. The small shift slipping on his left side, the quiet ritual routine before bed, they had brought him home to his own strength. A few months passed. Not much had changed on the outside. Tom still lived in the same house, wore the same old slippers, made the same coffee each morning, but something deep within had shifted. It started with a walk around the block that felt easier than it used to. Then came the steady heartbeat during his morning stretches, the kind that didn't pound or race, just was. He realized one quiet morning that he hadn't needed to nap in the afternoon for 2 weeks straight, that his mind felt clearer and his body less burdened. There was no single day he could point to, no dramatic before, but it was like watching spring slowly melt away winter bit by bit, until suddenly everything felt lighter. Tom wasn't chasing youth. He knew those days had come and gone, but what he was reclaiming was something far more powerful: agency. The sense that his choices still mattered, that his body could still respond, still heal, still grow stronger in its own way. And perhaps more importantly, that he could build something with his evenings, not just pass time but actively nurture the next day, as strength, anchors, symbols of care that he gave himself each night, without fanfare, without struggle. That small habit lying on his left side and that scoop of protein before bed, they had become more than just health tips. They were rituals. Now, he didn't think of it as trying to be healthier anymore. He had become the kind of man who protects his strength, who honors his body for what it's been through and gives it what it needs to keep going. He saw strength as something he could still build piece by piece, habit by habit, not because someone told him to, but because it felt right. Not just to live longer, but to live better. When his granddaughter Sarah visited one weekend, she asked if she could sleep in the big guest bed. He smiled and said, "Sure, but I'll need my body pillow back in the morning." About recognizing the quiet power of small, intentional choices made every single night. She laughed, puzzled. "Why do you sleep with that?" And Tom just chuckled. "Because I've got things to do. Tomorrowland, this old heart of mine deserves a little help tonight." That's what this journey had taught him. That aging wasn't about surrendering to decline. It was about partnering with your body. He no longer saw health as something to chase, or fear as something creeping around the next corner. And he knew deep down that every night he chose to care for himself, he was shaping the days ahead. So tonight, as you get ready for bed, I invite you to pause for a moment. Not to rush through the motions, not to collapse into bed like it's the end of a long day, but to greet this evening like a quiet opportunity, not just because it is better for your heart or your breath, though it is, but because it is an act of kindness, a simple signal to yourself. I still matter. My strength still matters. And if you choose to nourish that body with a little casein protein, just a scoop in water or a small cup of cottage cheese, do it not as a chore, but as a gesture. Your story might be exactly what they need to begin. Let this be the beginning of a new rhythm in your nights, one that gives back, one that heals gently, one that prepares you to meet the morning with more ease, more balance, more life. If you've made this shift, if you've tried sleeping differently or adjusting your evening habits, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, not just for me, but for someone else your age who might be reading, searching for hope, wondering if these little changes are worth it. Subscribe for more gentle guidance and stories that speak to where you are in life right now, not where others think you should be, because aging isn't the end of your strength. Sleep well, my friend. You've earned it.